Welcome to Pennsylvania in Focus. I'm Kristen Smith, Pennsylvania editor for the Center Square. Joining me today is the Center Square's Pennsylvania reporter, Anthony Hennon. Anthony's been doing a lot of reporting about Pennsylvania's attempts to build out infrastructure to accommodate electric vehicles. This is pretty much uncharted territory for Pennsylvania, and as such, it comes with a lot of hurdles for which we don't really have any good solutions yet. Anthony, will you talk to us more about what the challenges are?
Yeah, so there's two main challenges here. One is figuring out how to charge electric vehicles in the same way that we charge gas-powered vehicles for road use. Generally, how that's done now is through the gas tax. The gas tax basically provides the majority of funding to pave and repair roads and bridges across the Commonwealth. So right now, there's two proposals on that level. For electric vehicles, if the proposal goes through, it would basically be charging a per mileage fee of 3 cents per mile or an annual opt-out payment of $380, which is about the average that a gas-powered driver pays in gas tax each year. So on that level, it's not as challenging as it might seem in terms of tracking mileage and that sort of thing. Getting to parity between electric vehicles and gas-powered vehicles, that's not as big of a problem as it might seem at first. But the issue that's overhanging these conversations is the problem that Pennsylvania has a dwindling gas tax revenue as vehicles get more fuel efficient, and generally Pennsylvania finding a way to fund infrastructure and fund these bridge repairs, repaving roads, laying down new roads. That's sort of the issue facing the General Assembly and the governor of figuring out how to make sure we're properly funding maintenance and making sure that everything stays safe for drivers, whether they're in an electric car or otherwise.
This sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money that Pennsylvania may not be generating all on its own. Do you have any sense of what it's going to cost and where we're going to get this money from?
No. Essentially, when you talk with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, they estimate that they're coming up short by roughly $6 to $7 billion, I think was the last time I saw a figure. And this is generally geared toward deferred maintenance of basically prioritizing what they have to do now and then putting off what they can get away with later. The problem with this is the more you defer maintenance, the more costly it gets to fix those problems. As they get bigger, as road conditions deteriorate, when you look at other states, there's a lot of different ways that other states do this. Pennsylvania relies heavily on the gas tax, whereas other states, they will pull money from the general fund. They will look toward adding fees for registration or when you're buying a new car. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Generally, if you can kind of balance these things out rather than trying to put the burden on one specific thing, things tend to go smoother. But the core issue here is Pennsylvania residents are going to be the ones who have to pay for this, and finding a way to do this efficiently, fairly, most cost effectively. That's kind of the boogeyman we're facing right now.
Right. And we did get some money, if I recall correctly, from the federal infrastructure bill that passed. Aren't we readying to send out something like $62 million for charging stations? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So this is part of a national effort coordinated by the federal government to build out essentially corridors for electric vehicles. The plan is essentially building out these routes where within every 50 miles, there's an electric vehicle charging station. In Pennsylvania, over the next 5 years, we should get about $171 million for this effort. And it's basically targeted at the turnpike right now. So just driving across the state, there'll be a reliable infrastructure system built out for electric vehicles. Depending on how quickly that's done, how efficiently that's done, if there's money left over, then the Department of Transportation can start looking to building out other routes or secondary routes and that sort of thing. But the general goal here is to make sure there's a reliable network similar to how we see gas stations everywhere. So that's in the process. There's already a number of different charging stations across the Commonwealth, thanks to private companies building them out. But over the next few years, we're expecting to see that really balloon out, especially as when you look at the number of electric vehicles registered in the Commonwealth, that continues to grow exponentially.
Listeners can keep up with this story and more at thecentersquare.com. For Anthony Hennon, this is Kristen Smith. Please subscribe and thanks for listening.